take care of you.
And we're live. So we have a very special guest. Oh, hello, Em, by the way.
Hello, Stefan.
Yes,
How
you're
are you?
Co-host.
Yes.
So we have a very special guest. Very special guest.
You're
You're very excited because
I am so excited.
it's the new Swedish ambassador to Qatar. Welcome, Anders Bengtcén.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for coming. Thanks for, slotting the time in your busy schedule.
Yeah.
Is it a busy schedule when you first arrived?
It's quite busy. I've been here now for, it's 7 weeks. And it's been a very hectic 7 weeks so far, but extremely interesting. I've met many Qataris. I've met many in the Swedish community here. And I've had very good meetings. And I've had an incredibly good impression of Qatar so far.
Excellent. That's what we want to hear.
Yeah, that's exactly what we want to hear. I'm so happy that you are here.
Yeah, and I won't do the elevator pitch. I thought I've been listening to some old ones. And I thought, no, let's go straight into it.
Yes,
let's just
jump into it.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, have you been to this region before you arrived?
Indeed, I have. Many years ago, I was posted in Riyadh. So that was about 16, 17 years ago as a young diplomat. I lived in Riyadh with my wife and 2 young children at that time.
Oh, wow.
We often went out to the seaside, meaning places like Bahrain, places like the UAE, because both my wife and myself, we come from the seaside in Sweden.
Yeah, whereabouts? Let's go back to there.
I want to hear.
Whereabouts in Sweden are you originally from?
I'm from the island of Öland, which is an island in the Baltic Sea, which is sort of a touristy place in Sweden. People like to spend their holidays there. Swedes do, but also people from other parts of Europe. Long sandy beaches.
Yeah.
It's amazing. My parents live just across in Oskarshamn.
Very well.
Yes, so we are neighbors.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So I grew up on Öland, on this island in the Baltic Sea, which is very agricultural and very different from the mainland.
In what way? Why?
Well, it's heavy into farming.
Yeah.
Farming is not a big industry in Sweden, but on the island of Öland, it's extremely important.
Yeah.
So many farmers.
Oh.
It's limestone geology and geography, so the landscape is extremely different from the mainland. That means virtually no forest, but,
It's
but
very
plains,
flat. Yeah.
plains and flat.
Yeah.
And since it's way out there in the sea, there's very little precipitation. So it's the lowest precipitation in all of Sweden. So it's extremely dry. We have huge problems with droughts in the summer. And there are actually desalination plants on the island of Öland to see to it that we have enough fresh water. Yeah.
Wow.
So in that sense, there's some commonality with Qatar.
Absolutely.
Actually.
It's true, actually.
And what kind of agriculture is there? Especially if it's dry, then...
Yeah, actually there is, with irrigation, it's possible to do dairy farming.
Yeah.
So dairy farming is the big in the agricultural industry. There's also a lot of vegetables. But there's also the biggest camel farm in Sweden.
No.
It's
island.
true. It's so true. It's so cool.
Really?
Yeah, you can
Yes.
see them.
Why? Why is there camels?
Well, it doesn't go back that long in history. It goes back about 30 years when one of the farmers on the northern part of the island discovered that, the Central Asian camels with 2 humps,
Yes.
and they were extremely well adapted to the climate of Öland. So he brought in a few camels from Central Asia, and they liked it. So now there are many camels.
It's so
Wow.
funny.
So you can go camel riding on the island of Öland
Yeah.
in the Baltic Sea.
And does he farm it? Does he farm the camels, or for meat or milk, or?
It's mainly for recreation.
Oh, okay.
And there is an industry actually in camels in Europe, and that is circuses. So
really?
supplying circuses with camels is also part of it.
Wow.
It's so cool.
Who would have known?
Who would have known?
Okay, so small boy growing up in Ireland, what was your kind of interest at the time?
Well, as a small boy growing up, my interest was very much music and very much sailing. Did a lot of sailing at the Baltic Sea as a small boy, and but guitars, that was something that I really liked.
Yeah. Do you still play guitar?
Yes, I do to some
Wow.
extent. Both the acoustic guitars and the electric guitars. That's something that I like as a way of relaxing.
Absolutely. Maybe that would be great, wouldn't it, if all the ambassadors got together and formed a band?
I think it would be great for the ambassadors, but I'm not too sure about the audience.
I think you would have so much fun if you guys did that.
No, because, like I said before the actual show started, was that, most of the ambassadors that we've had, they're very creative. They're very into their music and their art.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure you'll find a few.
We can be
to
your
team up.
managers and set up the
I
tours.
was worried what you were going to say then.
That's
because I've
great.
heard your singing, so...
No, I'm not
As
going to
long as
be
you're
in the
not
band.
singing.
I'm going to be the manager
Okay.
to promote you guys abroad. Yes, going to be
Absolutely.
fun. Yeah, super.
Fantastic.
So
Yeah.
how did you fall into the
Diplomacy.
diplomatic corps?
Thank you.
Yes.
Actually, it took a while, and my eyes were open to diplomacy and international work when I was doing a study for a Swedish International Development Agency in Zambia at the end of the 80s. And that was my first time that I was really confronted with foreign policy and development cooperation and internationalism. And that's was at the age of, let's say, 24, 25. So a few years after that experience in Zambia, I applied to the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, and happily I was one of those picked up for the service. And I joined at the end of the 80s, actually. So it's been a long time with the Swedish Foreign Service now.
And what would you say is your high moment to date?
Well, the diplomatic service is full of constant highs.
Yeah.
It's an incredible, and I'll use a Swedish word, smorgasbord of possibilities. And wherever I've been very excited about the job. Right now, I'm focusing 100% on Qatar, and I'm very much enjoying the first few weeks here, and look forward to many years to come here in Qatar, and developing and strengthening the good relations that we have with Qatar.
Superb. Now, you brought in a bag, and we were a bit concerned what was in the bag, but
we were a bit nosy.
We were a bit
What
nosy.
is
We
it?
thought
What
it
is
was
it?
something for the photo shoot, but
Yes.
it wasn't. But we were pleasantly surprised
Mhm.
because you put on the table, what would you say, a bee?
Bees height. Bees
Mm.
height.
Bit of a beehive, is it?
Yeah.
It's a
Or
bit of a
bee comb,
beehive.
yeah.
Yeah, it's something which I found in my garden here in Qatar, in Doha, on the third day of my stay here. And I was very pleasantly surprised by it. It's a beehive, and it was full of bees and honey in my garden. And that was an incredibly good sign, because that means that nature is doing pretty well in the middle of Doha. Bees are thriving, producing honey, and enjoying themselves. That's quite good sign, because in many parts of Europe, and especially Central Europe, we have huge problems. Bees are disappearing. Pollination is a problem. Farmers are having problem. So I was very pleased to see that. At the same time, I didn't want to be stung in my garden by the bees. So I contacted a Qatari beekeeper who was very kind, came to the house and removed the bees from the beehive, took good care of the bees. So, of course, they all survived. and left me with a beehive, which is now full of honey, and good honey, by the way.
Yeah, you've tried it.
Yes, so it tastes good. And this is special in the sense that these are wild bees. So these are, of course, not domesticated bees that have fled, but these are indeed wild Qatar bees surviving in the middle of Doha.
That is such a good sign. It is.
But I was surprised because the only insects that I generally see are flies.
Yeah.
I've never seen any bees.
No, we talked about that also.
Yeah.
I never see bees. So.
And whereabouts are you living in Doha?
West Bay Lagoon.
Oh, wow.
It's cool. So it's in the middle of the city.
In the middle of the city.
Yeah, amazing. It's a good sign.
Yeah, it's a good sign because it, of course, means that the pesticide pressure in a way that area is not significant.
No, absolutely. And how did you find the Qatari guy to, was a bee expert? Did you go online? Or?
One of the things that I'm so proud of is my wonderful staff at the Swedish embassy. They are incredible. And they managed through their networks to contact one of the few, I understand, professional beekeepers in Qatar. And this gentleman, he came with staff and made sure to take good care of the bees.
But that's amazing because I have never heard about the beekeeper, someone taking care of the bees here in Qatar. So that's amazing.
But they are into honey. You see a lot of places
honey
around town that honey
thing.
is a big thing.
Yeah. But it is a good sign because because the bees are extremely important for all of us and our world actually.
Absolutely.
So good job.
Very good. So how has it been, going back to, being the ambassador, how has it been following on from the great Eva who was here before you?
Yeah.
Were they tough shoes to fill?
Well, I'm not sure I'm able to fill those shoes, but I am.
That would have been a good picture.
I am very proud of the incredible work that my predecessor Eva has done. She set up the Swedish embassy here in Qatar in 2014, and she's done a tremendous job in promoting Sweden and the Swedish embassy and giving sort of good trademark for Sweden in Qatar. So, of course, that's an incredible work that she has done, and I'm very proud to continue that work that she started.
We are happy that you're here.
Absolutely,
super happy.
And how talking about the bees and environment and stuff like that? How is Sweden moving forward, and are they sharing their expertise?
Well, that's one of the areas where I think that we have a lot to offer from a Swedish perspective, because I know Qatar is very interested in things like recycling of paper, recycling of waste, taking good care of waste. So there's a lot going on here, and the ambitions are really incredibly high in Qatar. In Sweden, we've done a lot in that area. We have efficient systems for waste management, for recycling, etc. So I think that we can offer a lot to Qatar, and that we're also very interested in cooperating in these fields with Qatar.
Yeah, because we're involved with the Qatar Sustainability Week, and just watching it grow from year to year, and the interest has been amazing.
Yeah, we were the media partner last year and this year as well now. So it's cool to see, as you say, how it grows and grows, and everybody is more and more concerned about the environment. And as Swedes, as both of us are, and all of us are actually, Stefan, sorry.
Half, yeah.
Sorry, but you are Swedish. So it's in our it's in our genes to be those who we are with the environment.
Yeah. Do you think with Sweden's history, because I remember at a very early age, and I always harp on about this on various podcasts, is that I remember my summers collecting cans, returning bottles and getting money for that so I can, spend it on sweets and stuff like that. So that was always ingrained in me, and I was always surprised when I went back to the UK that there was never anything to do with recycling. Do you think Sweden has always been a leader in the whole recycling and management of waste?
No, I don't think it always has been a leader. We've had huge problems. If you go back in Swedish history, 50, 60 years ago, we had huge problems with people just throwing out bottles and cans in nature, not taking care of it. So it has to do with a change of mindset. And it starts very much with children at school.
Yeah.
And I see that's also what is happening here in Qatar. I know that young Qatar people are very concerned about environmental sustainability. And I think that's where it's starting. That's where we started once upon a time.
Because I remember then growing up in the 70s and 80s back in Sweden, we have this "Keep Sweden Clean, Keep Sweden." Do you remember those?
I remember that.
And, it was like, and I felt if I throw something on the ground, my parents would be furious with me because everybody was so "Keep Sweden Clean," the campaign that was going on in the 70s and 80s in our country.
True, but if you go back to the 40s or 50s in a city like Stockholm, there was no way that you could take a swim in the middle of Stockholm in the 40s or 50s.
Oh, really?
There was no sewage treatment whatsoever. It would have been dangerous to do something like that. And now the water is very clean.
Yeah,
we have the fish there, and people go swimming in the middle of Stockholm during the summertime. So it changed. We had problems before our generation.
Yeah.
The problems were huge.
Yeah.
Great.
So there is hope, world. There is hope.
There is hope.
Yeah.
Just need to act quicker, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Quick.
So, what are the plans for your stint here? How many years are you going to be here? Is it about 3 years?
I'm going to be here for many years.
Yay! We are so happy. Please stay.
Yes. Are you going to be here for the World Cup?
I hope to be here for the World Cup. Okay. Yes, indeed.
So you'll be flying the flag for Sweden if they qualify.
Correct.
We will.
Correct. But we had a good game yesterday with Spain.
We did.
1-1 draw. Yeah. So I think we're doing well.
What was the score?
1-1.
1-1.
Yes. They were broadcasting it widely yesterday in Swedish networks.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the plan for the embassy, are you going to grow, or you're quite happy with the size that you are, or
Well, I'm quite happy with the size. We are very efficient. We're not many staff, but we are extremely efficient. Of course, we could do more with even more staff, but I'm happy with the way things are.
Mm-hmm. And when you go and meet the various ministries, is there different areas of business that you're promoting? You mentioned about the environment. Are there other areas that you're...
Well, of course, high tech is extremely important for Sweden. Our industry is very much focused on the high tech areas. We're an innovative country, and this is where I see also that we have an area of cooperation which should potentially grow with Qatar. So high tech, that's one of the areas for sure. And I know that within the Vision 2030 in Qatar, there is a lot of interest in moving quickly towards a high-tech country.
And what about education as well? Because I know there's always a push for to promote universities in different countries. Is that part of your agenda as well, to entice Qatari students?
We will certainly want to see more Qatari students in Sweden, especially in centers of higher learning. And what is not widely known is that universities in Sweden, they of course offer courses complete in English. So you don't need to understand or speak Swedish to get a master's or PhD degree at a Swedish university. Your English skills will suffice to study in institutions of higher learning.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, I think I've heard that, because there's quite a big alumni here of students that studied in Sweden.
Yeah, And that those students and those alumni are, of course, an important part of our community here in Qatar.
No, absolutely. Right, well, we're coming to the end.
That went so quick.
I know, but we have a quick fire questions now. I'll keep them. I won't.
Yeah, they are very fun. I love them.
So, what is your favorite film?
My favorite film is Harmonica.
Harmonica?
Never heard of it.
No.
You never heard of it? It's an old Western.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who was the lead?
Charles Bronson.
Cool.
Interesting.
That's going back in time to, I would say, the 60s. That's one of my favorites. Of course, I have some favorites, Swedish films as well.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the Ingmar Bergman films are certainly Fanny Alexander, for example.
I love that.
This is one of the last films that Ingmar Bergman made. That's also a favorite.
Oh, I'll have to check that
and
out.
it's very different, very different from Harmonica.
Yeah. It is, of course. Sure. It's a Western, and that won so many Oscars in the Fanny and Alexander, the Ingmar Bergman, and it's also a nice document of how it was back in the days in Christmas and all those things.
Is it black and white?
No. It's color.
It's color.
He's not that old.
It's not.
Okay. Favorite book?
Favorite book is a Swedish book called Din stund på jorden, Your Time, Your Moment in This World. It was written by Willem Moberg, and it's about a lonely man who has emigrated to the United States, and he's a retired man. He has made it big in the United States, and now is walking back and forth on the beach in Santa Barbara, remembering his life.
And he was also from our part in Sweden, Willem Moberg.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Interesting. The person that you admire, person that has inspired you in your life.
A lot of people have inspired me, but I wouldn't want to say one particular person has inspired me more than others. So there are lots of people in my close vicinity, like parents, like close relatives, who've inspired me.
Nice. Inspirational quote? Do you have one?
Quotes relating to that everything is possible, that you should aim for the highest. Quotes like that are something that I am inspired by.
Nice.
Good. And I also have one, and that is what makes you happy, and what are you grateful for, and what makes your heart sing of happiness.
To see happy people around me.
Very good.
That I love.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Well, thank you, Anders.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having me
on the show, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Thank you for having me on the show.
And we will see each other super much.
Super much.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. And we'll catch up with you next week. And don't forget about the other podcasts. And I always say thank you for watching, but thank you for listening as well.
Yeah, of course.
And the other podcasts, Doha, Heat, and In the Game.
And
Take care.
Food Review.
Food Review is part of this show.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, bye. Take care. Bye-bye.